Hey, girlfriend, we are so glad you are here today. We are going to be walking through a little reflection and reconnecting with your sparkle. In fact, I have all my sparkle on if you're watching the video. If not, it'll just radiate through the podcast and we'll just get going because Kristi Parry is here with us. And I'm so thrilled, Kristi. You bring so much life, so much vibrant energy with you wherever you go. And so we're going to have some fun today.
Yay,
Glad
I
you're
love
here.
that. I love that. I'm all in, girl.
We're going to be talking about sparkle. We're going to be talking about the lenses of life. And I love this reconnecting with your sparkle. And so tell us a little bit about you and where you come from, and just a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so I live in Washington as well, but I'm on the east side of the state. I'm in Spokane, outside of Spokane, and I am a mama of four kids and been married for 31 years. And yeah, I became a coach about probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I had my oldest son's autistic, kind of a really dysregulated kind of kiddo, and so life was pretty intense for me. A lot of parenting, and when I was going through all my parenting years with him, and so when he moved out, I felt like I had space to be more me and
Mm.
kind of find my who I was. Does that sound familiar, Karen?
Yes, it does. I'm putting up my I relate button or my little sign. Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah, and so you kind of find like, yeah, who am I now that all my energy isn't consumed by this kiddo?
Mm.
And I think because of all that I'd been through and I have three special needs kids. My youngest has Down syndrome. I have a daughter with ADHD, and just all the things. And so life was kind of crazy. But I think for me, what helped me through all of it was my creativity and my sparkle. It kind of was my lifeline to
Yeah.
to everything. And then when I decided to become a coach, I'm like, well, I've been through so many things. I want to help other women, other mamas out there who struggled and maybe not had the best. I don't know, just the way I parented, I don't always have the best idea of how I did it, right? I judge myself, and so a lot of that, my journey was letting go of the shame around doing it the wrong way and not getting the results I wanted, and not having the family I wanted, and all these stories that really weren't serving me. And so that's a lot of the coaching that I do now is I help moms, particularly who felt like they didn't really succeed at what they were doing. I help them change that story, right?
Mm.
Lose the lenses. And that's really for me, it's about letting go of the story that I failed because I didn't. I just was learning and I was growing and I did the best that I could with the information that I had. And I love the quote by Maya Angelou, which is once you know better, you do better. And so, right? And so now I'm doing better and that's where I'm at.
Yes, and I love that. You just touched on so many topics, and I find so women of a more interesting age, if you're 50 plus, that might include you. And maybe we don't have our kids at home anymore, but we're now in a new season with adult children, which is a whole nother thing. And there's not a lot out there. And you know what? We're having to kind of recreate this whole space again of how do we how do we go through this new season of life? And are we doing it wrong? Because I hear, kids are, they're stepping away from their parents and the moms are going, what's up now? I thought we got through all of that. And now we're in this space. And it's like, did I do something wrong? Where it keeps coming back up and to be able to see through some clear lenses. So my question to women is, what lens are you looking through right now? And Kristi, tell us a little bit about how you kind of came up with this and relate it to those lenses of life that we look through.
Yeah. So for me, when I became a coach, they talk about what's your brand going to be and what's your style. And if you
Yeah.
don't know me, if you're listening to this, I love color and I love sparkle and I love all things bright and happy. And I wear headscarves, and so I'm like, well, I'm gonna wear a scarf. But then I'm like, I had this pair of glasses that were sitting on my counter, and they were some glasses I bought at the Spokane County Fair years ago,
Yeah.
and I decided they were going to be my my branding. Like I want to wear these cool cat eye glasses. I always feel like I can't. I should have been born in the '50s. Loved Elvis Presley, and so I decided to put them on. And one day I was wearing them, and I had that imposter syndrome at first of like, oh gosh, can I put these lenses on because they're not real? And people would say, are those real? Which is such a funny question because of course they're real. They just didn't, I didn't need them, right? I didn't need them for
Right.
I did actually need them. I needed them for the purpose of my soul. My soul needed them, but my physical, body didn't need them. And I think that's the lens I had to lose, was that it was okay because my spirit and my soul said yes, yes, yes. That was enough. And so I was doing a Facebook Live, and they were kind of smudged, and I tried to clean them, and they were just plastic cheap glasses. I thought, you know what? Why do I have these lenses even in these glasses? I don't even need them. So I took them off. I popped out the lenses, and I'm like, oh my gosh, so much clarity.
Oh,
It's like, it was amazing. I'm like, everyone should take out their lenses on their glasses. That is
yeah.
yours unless you need them, and I don't recommend that. But that was kind of where I came up with this idea of, why am I looking through these lenses that are dirty, that aren't even mine? And
That aren't even mine.
yeah, and it became this kind of representation of like, who am I without the lenses? And one day I was visiting my sister-in-law about a year or two later, and she said, Kristi, I know the name of your podcast when you do it one day. It's Life Without Lenses. And that just kind of stuck with me. And,
Yeah.
Karen, now I own 48 pair of glasses, and all of them have no lenses in them. And that's kind of my journey of really stepping into, who am I without all the stories and the judgments and the shame and all the things that I was taught that aren't even mine, and learning to like listen to my own voice, my own sparkle. That's why I really focus on the sparkle. It's the divinity within me, and starting to hear that. And when the lenses are gone, who am I? And for the readers listening, who are you, right? When the lenses are gone, who are we really when we start listening to our own voice?
Yeah, who are we when we start listening to our own voice? Oh my goodness. So I want to let the our listeners know that one, your glasses are just not your ordinary glasses. First of all, they are full of sparkle and rhinestones, and I just love it. And there's pictures. So Kristi is part of our Being Brave Tour magazine. And so we'll put the links that you can go get a free digital copy and you can follow along in the reflection that we're going to be talking about and connect with her through that as well. And so you're talking about seeing life, taking out those lenses. There's, like you were saying, there's so much that we have been programmed, so many roles that we had to fill. And what if you popped out those lenses? What would that look like for you?
Yeah, yeah. And that's what's so exciting, right? Because it's like, well, if I and even ask the question, Karen, is that my lens, or is that a lens, was my mom's, was that my ancestor, was that my great grandmother's? Like, there's all these lenses, and I think when you start asking the question, it accesses you access your prefrontal cortex, which is like our most brilliant part of our brain. And you step into consciousness of like, yeah, good question, I didn't even know I was supposed to ask the question. And I think that's, for me, has been powerful to realize, oh, I get to ask the question. I get to question things. I get to decide, is it mine or is it not mine? And I think for many women, I find this even in my coaching, a lot of women are like, well, that's just who I am. I said, but what if that wasn't who you were? And just that question alone of like starting to question, is this mine? And if it's not,
Yes.
like, what can you create if that's not you, who you are?
Yes. So in the space of life that I'm in, so one of, I feel like myself, I've lived to the expectations of what I thought everybody expected of me.
Oh yeah.
And so but now that I'm 65, a lot of people my age are retiring and I thought, "Oh, you're supposed to retire, go travel." And I finally asked my question, is that what I want?
Love that.
And,
Powerful, Karen.
and especially around travel, it's like I have been very lucky. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've had a lot of blessings. I've had a lot of opportunities to travel the world. And I thought, that's not exactly what I want to do. And I thought, am I strange? I mean, I love travel. I love to go places, but that's not really like, I feel like it's more what you're supposed to do rather than what I really want to do.
Wow, that's powerful, Karen. I love that. So, what did you do with that when you had that? Because that is, I think, sometimes we think like, oh my gosh, am I allowed to do that? Like me, am I allowed to pop my lenses out? Like for you, are you allowed to do what other people aren't doing?
And to give yourself permission to ask questions, so I had to ask myself more questions about it. Was I had to ask, well, am I just saying that because my finances are different, and maybe I don't have the abundance of finances that I used to have to be able to go do things like that. And then I thought, you know what? I mean, even just the other night, I said, if I had all the finances would I just go travel? And it's like, yeah, maybe I would travel a little bit, but it wouldn't be my sole focus because I love to create. I love to create, and whatever I would do, if I did travel, it would be around creating something or learning something. So I had to repurpose it. What would be my reason for wanting to do that?
Yeah, but that's so powerful, Karen. I think sometimes it's the simple things, just asking that simple question, right? Do I really want that? And then giving yourself space to hear an answer
Yeah.
and to trust
Oh
it
my gosh.
and to trust
And
the answer.
and bringing up that want, that's another great question. I haven't always known what I wanted. So this is so fun to be able to explore these things and take off the different lenses. So I'm glad you're challenging us in this way. It's like to give yourself permission to ask questions. I love that, Kristi.
Yeah, well, that for me shifted everything. When I first became a coach, the coach that I trained under, that was one of the things she said. She says, ask your brain a question and then watch it go to work and have fun. And I
Oh,
thought, what an interesting idea.
so what might be some questions we might ask ourselves today
Well,
around popping out the lenses?
yeah,
And
yeah, good. I think one of the questions is this what I want? Is this my lens? Right? Is this mine? Do I really embrace this and is this really mine? Is this authentic to who I am? I love that question. Is this authentic to who I am? Because I think sometimes it might be what we were taught, but it's not authentically our own lens, right? And for me that's been a really powerful one. Like what do I love? And that's another great question, Karen, is what would I love?
mhm.
And just to sit with that question, what would I love? Not what would be what I should do or what would be best for, and I think as women particularly, we're so good at what everyone else wants, what everyone else needs. And so just getting some clarity on if I could just do what I wanted to do, what would I love? What would
Yeah.
be
You
delight?
know, yes. And I love that question too, actually, Kristi, because I think I have been programmed that what I want is all around the do. Where do I want to travel? What do I want to have in my house? What kind of, relationships do I want? Or, there was all like these scripted things that seemed to pop up for me.
Yeah.
And so lately, I asked myself that the other day because somebody else asked me too, what do you want? And I thought, you know what? I want to experience joy.
I love that.
I want to experience peace. I want to feel safe
Yeah.
in my heart. I want to feel safe in my relationships. I want to have abundant and flourishing relationships with my children.
I love that. About being, Karen, right? It's about
That's
being.
more about being. Yeah. Yeah, that's for me. When you start talking about the lenses, I think I start putting away the do and you make me start thinking about what I want to be and how I want to experience life.
I love that. And I think, and one of the things that's been so powerful is practicing that. And the way I've practiced that is to like, when I, just around like clothing, like, well, I'll go to an event. Like I was going to the Messiah this past, a couple Christmases ago. And I just asked myself, what would really make me feel present in that situation? Going to the Messiah. We're going to
Mhm.
this beautiful church and it was a cathedral and it was just lovely. And I just sat and listened. Like what really resonates with my soul, not
Mhm.
it was a different question than, what do I look like? Or it was like, what really feels like I'm showing my love for Jesus. That was kind of my message, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
and it was like, wear the crown. And my thought was, well, nobody else is going to be wearing a crown. And it's like, wear the crown. And I said, okay. And then I said, well, what else am I going to wear? And so sorry, my dog is barking. Just one
Oh,
second,
yeah.
close my door. This is life. Okay. Can you hear her, Karen?
Yeah, yeah. We're used to now because of COVID that when all the newscasters had to film from home and stuff, that's just part of life now. It's like we're live, ladies. This is real life. We're filming from our
This is
houses.
real.
We
You're
have
right. This is real
there's
life. And
people, there's dogs, there's all sorts of things. It's just part of the interview.
thank you. Well, I was going to put her away, and I forgot that piece of it. But you can't do
Yeah,
all the
it's
stuff.
okay.
But
All
so back
good.
to my story was I was like, well, what else do I wear? What else really represents it? Wear your red velvet, beautiful vintage coat, because that felt very much like what honoring and reverencing the experience for me, and such a different experience to go to that place of like, who am I and what do I want and what really feels true and authentic to me to have the experience that I want to have. And that kind of when you talk
Mm,
about how do I be? How can I be in that moment and really just be all that I want to be in that moment.
Right. So let's talk because I love this. We're going to the experience. What do we want to experience? And with your ladies, when you download the magazine, which is free, there's a digital download, and there's a link in there that Kristi has put for you. And it's a little meditation, and she just walk you the women through this little guided experience. Girls, it's short. Take a little me time. You're worth it. And then we go through some questions. So just give a brief overview of what the meditation is about.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, it's basically CPR: create, play, and reawaken. It's CPR for our soul,
Oh,
right?
okay, awesome.
Which is all about accessing and reawakening that inner child within us,
Oh,
right? Like
yeah.
creating space, like you said, to take 5 to 6 minutes playing, and it's about going back to a memory you has a happy memory as a little girl, and or a little boy, whoever's listening to this, when you were a
Mhm.
child, and going and meeting her and reawakening. So it's like creating a moment in time, playing and reawakening who we really are, and bringing her forward. And I invite you in this meditation to reconnect with your most beautiful part of who you are, because I feel like
Yes.
that is the sparkle. When I talk about sparkle and all the sparkle that I talk about, it's about joy lived out loud. And it's about that little girl within us. That's really what sparkle is for me, Karen. It's
Oh,
joy.
joy lived out loud. Oh, we've got to create a little social media post around that. Joy lived out loud. But Christy, one of the things that I think is really important that you have in the meditation is that you mention also not everybody's childhood was filled with lots of joy, that maybe it wasn't an experience that and you invite people to create a memory.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just so sweet because at first, I mean, I've had a lovely life, but I have trouble sometimes going, oh, what was that one memory? But then once you said that, that gave permission to create the memory, and then some things kind of popped up for me. And what popped up for me, and this is one of the reflection questions as well, is, take a moment, reflect on that. What was that moment? And you know what came up for me?
What?
Is I remember when I have five sisters, and in our neighborhood, it was filled with kids. Each house had two, three, four, five kids in it. And on the 4th of July, we'd all go out onto the street, and all the kids would sit on the curb, and the parents would be lighting off the fireworks. And I remember one, and I can't remember how old I was, maybe like around 8 or something. And I remember everybody going, and the bigger kids kind of led it, and they would go, ooh. And all the kids started moving together. And I remember my best friends sitting by me and we're going, ooh, to the fireworks going off. And the bigger kids were kind of leading that cheer, if you will. And it was just joyful. I didn't have to be doing anything. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Nobody was saying, oh, you're leaning too, you just were being, and it was just in the moment,
I
and it
love that,
was
Karen.
surrounded by beauty and people laughing. And it was just such a great memory. And I thought, oh, what if, and then one of your other questions too is what does that, uh, when you saw your younger self, what did you notice about her? And it was just that wonderment of a child.
Yeah, I love that, Karen. The wonderment. It's so interesting how we lose that a little bit as we get older.
Yes.
And I think that's part of the messaging. And I a big part of my message in this world is how to is this CPR, is this it's the creative health. It's about accessing our creativity and remembering who we are, and going to that place of wonderment, of awe, where things delighted us, and simple things, right? I think what you're
Yes.
relating to the most was just the connection of everyone being together and moving and connection. What a beautiful oohs and ahs over these kind of
Yeah.
magical fireworks are kind of magical, and cementing that memory and creating that really beautiful safety within your body, because I think that's what those moments do, right? And hopefully
Right.
that's what this experience will do for those that are watching it, is to create a memory where you kind of have as a little bit of an anchor to remember, oh yeah, this is a time when I
Oh,
was safe, when I actually felt I wasn't just alone. I was part of a bigger thing, right? A bigger group. And on this planet, I think we're all connected to each other. And sometimes it's hard to feel we we live in a world where people can kind of feel lonely and a little bit like they don't have lots of people with social media, and it appears that everything is we're all connected, but so many people aren't. And I think to reconnect with that little girl and remember those moments when we had safety, and then to figure out how to start creating more of that in our lives, because that's the goal, right? Is to bring her forward and like, how can we play more? How can we? That's why I host mermaid retreats and sparkle retreats and sparkle summits, because I'm
I
like,
love it.
you know what? As I get older, Karen, life is harder, as you can probably attest to, and I want more joy. I want more joy lived out loud. I need it more than ever in my life. I need it with what's going on in the world and with my the challenges as we get older. And I think
Yeah.
that's why I wear my big glasses, and everywhere I go, I hand out sparkle pens to people just randomly, and
Yeah.
just my goal is to spread that joy and to remember the wonderment of what it was to be a child. And I want my listeners to also have that experience, and then to bring more of that little girl forward, and really learn to listen to her. She's your gold mine. she's
Yes.
she's your superstar.
Yes. And I would encourage our listeners to share maybe a moment that they, as they walk through your meditation and this, getting those ideas and, those memories, a memory and sharing that memory with someone, whether it's here with us or with somebody else, because it might just spark a little something in someone else,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So, Christy, what do you have a memory that just pops up for you?
You know, for me, one of my favorite memories was so I live out in the country, and I had 8 siblings, so a big family.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and so one of my favorite memories was one night going out with my dad and just laying underneath the stars. We had had a big bonfire earlier. We had a fire pit. We'd go down to the local store and get some hot dogs and marshmallows. We'd have a little weenie roast. I remember my dad and I just laying out underneath the stars and just feeling so safe and so seen. Well, we just looked up at the sky and just realizing just the beauty of the world. And it was a moment for me that's a grounding moment, Karen, because it really helps me find that safety when the world feels a little bit out of control. I kind of
Mm.
go back to that as an anchor moment of like, everything's okay, Christy. And
Oh,
there's beauty all around us, and there's light all around us, and that's what I focus on. So yeah, thanks for
yes.
asking.
Yeah, and you said something really important there, as this memory could also be an anchor moment for you. So when the world feels chaotic, you can go back to that moment and know that it was a safe space, a grounding space. So I love that. I'm going to hang on to that. That's a little golden nugget right there. And you ask in the reflection too, what was the gift from this? For me, my gift, I think one of the things I have the joy of being a grandmother now.
I love that. Nothing better.
And it takes me back to some of those playful moments because those kids, again, you get to see the world through their wonderment.
Yeah,
And
and there's nothing more beautiful.
I know, isn't it? And I saw a picture of a woman the other day. She was all dressed as and you were talking about mermaids, but she was actually like in the mermaid, had the fin thing sitting there with her grandchild. And I just thought that was, oh, that's so fun, just going into that space with them, and being a part of that pretend world and all of that, just being playful again.
And being imaginative, because if you think about it, Karen, that's our greatest venue to the divine, to who we truly are, and it's limitless. And I think as we get older, we have so much more wisdom and so much experience, like, and our bodies maybe are struggle a little bit more, right? As we get older,
Yeah.
we have to work at it. But it's like, but if we open up to that imagination, and to that innovation, to that creativity, like the sky is the limit. And I think that's what those stars represent for me. It's like this shoot for the stars, right? And as we get older, why not? Why not dress more boldly and have more fun and play more? Because this is our chance on this earth to really make a splash, in mermaid sense, in my mermaid world, but
Yeah.
to really enjoy life. And I've done this meditation with many women, and I've heard so many beautiful stories of women where it's been life changing for them. The gift that was given to them was just the gift to be able to hear their own voice and have it matter, like their voice had been shut down. And like, I love the little girl giving permission to be more who they are, and the gift of like just stepping into your strength and your beauty, and to trust, so there's some really powerful gifts. And when I've done this with women, there's lots of tears and there's lots of emotion, and I have people always reach out to me afterwards and say, I'd like to just share with you what I experienced that was so powerful. So it is a really it's not a very long meditation, maybe 5 to 7 minutes, but it's quite powerful to go there. And I would even encourage you to do this not just once, but other times, and to really access those memories and bring more of her forward, because
Yeah.
she's magic. She's just magic, and to see yourself through them. Because I find, women in general, a lot of times I'll ask a woman to look at themselves in the mirror, and they don't want to look at themselves, right? Because they have a hard time seeing who they are. But when we look at that little girl, she's just so beautiful and just so magical, and she has so much joy, and bringing her forward, and can you see her in the mirror? Can you see her more and bring her forward? And that's really what I hope women can start to develop, this relationship with them, where they start to understand who they are, and just the preciousness of their spirits and their souls and of all of it.
Oh, yes. And then the final question that you ask women to kind of ponder is there anything you would like to say to her? So what do you tend to hear when you ask women this question?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think a lot of what women say is, I'm just so sorry that I couldn't be there more for you, right? And I just want to protect you,
Oh,
and forgive me for not. A lot of women, they have to ask their younger self to kind of forgive them for forgetting who they are, right?
oh, oh, for forgetting who they were. Yeah.
Forgiveness of, like, I'm so sorry. And I've heard other women say, just, thank you so much for being the light in the world, and you're safe now. Like, a lot of it, as you get older, you do a little bit of parenting yourself. And so a lot of women, they go back and they're parenting their child, right? And they're loving her and saying, I see
Oh,
you. And they put their arms around her and they give her a hug, and they just want her to know how precious she is and how she's safe now. Because for a lot of women, they didn't have situations where they were safe. And so I think this can bring up some of those experiences for women a little bit. And so some of them have shared that, of going back and really loving on their little girl, and just letting her know that she's incredible and they want to protect her. So a lot of love for her.
a lot of love for her. Oh my gosh, Kristi, so beautiful. So as we close off here, and what would you like, any closing words that you would like to leave with the ladies?
Yeah, I think just really embrace the beautiful gift of who you are, that you are a divine goddess, my friends, and your sparkle is really your joy lived out loud. And that when you can start to go to that and to trust yourself, is learning to trust yourself and starting to hear your own voice. And that I really just want that more than anything, is that you can start to hear your own voice, trust your own voice. My son Isaac, has Down syndrome, and one of my favorite things he says is, "Mom, be awkward." And I love that he's given me permission
Give your,
to be a little bit awkward, because I think part of the
yeah.
reason why we don't step into that is because we think, well, no one else is doing it, and but I want you to start exploring, like, but what if you could? Like, what if you could really be who you wanted to be and express yourself in a way? What would life be like for you for the next 30, 40 years, right? If you could step into that version of her, and maybe have a little bit of courage to be a little bit awkward and be a little bit uncomfortable, but also really step into your sparkle, into your light, because that's what our world needs right now, is more sparkle than ever, than ever.
Yes, girls, go out and be some sparkle, and it's your joy living out loud. It's so many little golden nuggets, Kristi. Thank you for joining us and bringing your sparkle to us and lighting up the room, and to creating this meditation to bring us back to some moments of joy, some playfulness, that wonder of being a child, and bringing that back into our current life. And I love that. Thank you so
So
much for
welcome.
joining us.
Just a delight to be here, Karen, and I love the work that you're doing. Your magazine is just brilliant and beautiful, and highlighting and celebrating women is all what I'm about. And being brave, right? That's what it's about. It's about being brave and living boldly with more joy and more light.
It is. And thanks for joining us, Kristi. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.